You know, Ian, it is just so nice to just sit here with you, have some fun in the sun after working so hard on the 4th season of the film reel.
Yeah, Bryce, I couldn't agree more. It's just, I work up a sweat every time I'm talking about movies and junk. Yeah.
Yes. You know, just common folk just do not get it.
Not at all.
Ugh. Yikes. Speaking of common folk.
Sorry, dude. Mind if I join in on the fun? Ha!
Listen, dude, I don't know who the hell you think you are, but you're only in the show for like 3 minutes, tops.
Yeah, we're hot, and you're not.
Kane, I think you should leave. And you know what? For coming at us for this completely reasonable request, you're off the show. After this Barbie episode, you're done. No more Kane.
Yeah, that's right. Access denied.
Get out of here, man. Like, I mean, who does he think he is? You know, I will say this. The greatest thing about this industry is that we, as famous TV producers, get to treat our writers and actors in whichever way we choose.
Yeah, I love being a part of it. I just get to climb up the ranks, and I get to push people down that are doing the real work.
It's very Ken of us. Very
Yes.
Ken.
I think we're harnessing that Kinergy.
You know, and the greatest thing is that, you know, we can do this without consequence. I mean, you don't think that he could ever, like, this would ever come back to bite us, do you think?
No.
News Channel 15 presents The Film Reel, the talk show where we discuss everything going on in the world of movies and television. With hosts Bryce West and Ian Lloyd, this is The Film Reel.
Well, welcome back into the Barbie edition of The Film Reel. You got to see a little bit of some drama, you know, at the beginning. We're sorry that you had to see that. Hopefully, nothing comes about that later. So hopefully we don't have to worry about that ever again. No. But yeah, this is the Barbenheimer two-part special event here on the News Channel 15. First, in this episode, we're going to be reviewing Barbie, and immediately after this, we're going to have another episode of the Film Reel, and we will be reviewing Oppenheimer. But before we can get to all of that, let's take a look at the box office report for this week.
Coming in at number 5 is Elemental, starring Leah Lewis and Mamadou Athey. The film follows Ember and Wade in a city where fire, water, land, and air residents live together. The film brought in $8.7 million, dropping 13.3% from last weekend. For the Film Reel, I'm Mallory Burton.
Coming in at number 4 is Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny, starring Harrison Ford and Phoebe Waller-Bridge. The film follows archaeologist Indiana Jones as he races against time to retrieve a legendary artifact that can change the course of history. The film brought in $12 million, dropping 56.2% from last weekend. For the Film Reel, I'm Gretchen Owen.
Coming in at number 3 is Insidious, The Red Door, starring Ty Simpkins and Patrick Wilson. The Lamberts must go deeper into the further than ever before to put their demons to rest once and for all. The film brought in $13 million, dropping 60.6% from last weekend. For the Film Reel, I'm Tegan Rule.
Coming in at number 2 is Sound of Freedom, starring Jim Caviezel, Mira Sorvino, and Bill Camp. The true story of a former government agent turned vigilante who embarks on a dangerous mission to rescue hundreds of children from sex traffickers. The film brought in $27 million, rising 37.2% from last weekend. For the Film Reel, I'm Eli Grimes.
Coming in at number 1 is Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1, starring Tom Cruise and Haley Atwell. Ethan Hunt and his IMF team must track down a dangerous weapon before it falls into the wrong hands. The film opened with $56.2 million. For the Film Reel, I'm Peyton Peters.
Surprise! The Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1, as expected, enters in at number 1 in the box office, to be expected. Yeah. 54 million gross domestic is still not great. Especially not for Mission Impossible, Tom Cruise, you know. Yeah. But it's not horrible. I mean, definitely compared to some of the other films that we've been seeing, it's doing a lot better. Yeah. And yeah, the Sound of Freedom is really weird. So I don't know how much I want to get into this, but not even apparently, because the studios themselves have borderline admitted it, but apparently the audience for this movie is just buying up a bunch of tickets and not going to see the film to inflate the box office numbers. For what purpose, I have no clue, but it's really interesting, and like the studio who made the film tweeted out, hey, some kind moviegoers have paid it forward, so you can claim your free ticket now. And it's like really, really weird.
At the end of each screening, they have like a little message that plays like, oh, you should donate money so we can get other people in here. But then it just leaves a lot of empty theaters, and it's kind of weird.
It's really bizarre.
That's why it's that high up this week, so there you go.
Yeah, so anyway, Insidious The Red Door drops from 1 to 3. I would have expected it to come down to 2, but Sound of Freedom is there. And then coming from 2 to 4 is Indiana Jones, The Dial of Destiny, and 4 to 5 is Elemental. I think this might be it for Elemental. I think this might be it.
He's calling a shot, folks.
I think Elemental might be done. You know, it's had a long run. It's had a pretty good run. But I think it might be done there. So we're going to move on to the box office showdown portion of this episode. Ian lost last week. We'll get to that later. But first, we're going to give our predictions for this weekend. Coming in at number 1, I think it's going to be Barbie.
Okay.
You know, the cast is equally as stacked as Oppenheimer, but I think, you know, name brand Margot Robbie is perfect for Barbie. I cannot think of anybody else I would want to play Barbie. Yeah. Ryan Gosling is also perfect as Ken. And I think the great word of mouth of this film is going to just be constantly bringing people in for more seats. And then coming in at number 2 is Oppenheimer. We got Barbenheimer going on. People are seeing double features, so I don't think it'll be too far off, but I do think that people will probably be less interested in Oppenheimer than Barbie, just in the general audience. So that's why I have Oppenheimer at number 2. Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1, I have coming down from 1 to 3. Barbenheimer's just too strong.
Yeah.
Even Tom Cruise can't handle it, so I've got Mission Impossible at number 3. Sound of Freedom, why not? I have it at 4.
Okay.
Yeah, that's all I'm gonna say about that. And then Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny, I think it could stay in the top 5, just right there at number 5.
Well, I think I'm going to agree for the most part. I think the main 2, Barbie's number 1, Oppenheimer's number 2, I think these are both going to smash hit at the box office this weekend because they're both incredible films that people have been excited to see. And I think after that, I'm going to say Mission Impossible. I'm also going to say Sound of Freedom. And then my last choice, I'm going to say Elemental is still going to be number 5.
You know, it very well could. I've been proven wrong time and time again. I've taken it out time and time again, and it just keeps coming back.
We'll just have to see.
So we will have to see. But like I said earlier, you lost, and Ian decided to take the punishment into his own hands. He did not tell me how he was going to punish himself for losing last week's box office showdown. So I guess take it away.
So I decided to make my own Barbenheimer list today.
Oh my goodness.
Of 2 despicably bad and boring films. Gotti, starring John Travolta, and Mean Girls 2. Now,
that is hilarious.
These films are terrible. Gotti is just the most bland, know-nothing movie about a mob boss I've ever seen. And Mean Girls 2 is just hilariously bad. And it just fails at everything the first one did right. And I wish I had more to say, but these are just terrible films.
So did you watch these like back to back, like Barbenheimer?
No, I didn't have time.
Well,
that was the plan, but
it's not true Barbenheimer then, is it?
I guess not, but there you go. Don't watch these movies.
That is really funny. You know, I saw Mean Girls 2 on your Letterboxd, and I was like, that's weird. I wonder why he watched that. So I guess that makes sense now. But with that being said, we're going to take a quick break, and then after this, we're going to be reviewing Barbie. It's showtime. Let's go. Welcome back into the film reel. It's Barbenheimer week. We're starting off this 2-part special event with Barbie. Wow. Listen, I mean, from the trailers, I knew that I was going to really like this movie, but actually sitting there in the theater watching it is a whole different story.
Yeah.
I mean, smile on my face from beginning to end.
100%.
I mean, what an absolute fever trip in like the most like spectacular way possible.
Yeah. I was extremely excited for this movie because I'm a huge fan of the director, Greta Gerwig. She's only made 2 films before this, but they're both knockouts in their own right. And I think it's crazy that like all three films are completely different on like what they're trying to do, but they're still all about how impossible it is to be a woman living today, or like just living in society as general. And I just, this movie blew me away, and I just think it's incredible.
It's. I mean, I don't want to spoil too much. I definitely want people to go in blind to this. But I mean, it is inherently a comedy still.
Yes.
You know, but it has these like really deep moments to where it's just like really like, it almost like makes you want to question society and the world that you live in, and like how you treat and speak to others, and how others treat you, and how you want to be perceived, and the movie really is about just being the person that you want to be. And I never went in to Barbie thinking that it would be such a deep and thought-provoking film, but it truly is.
Yeah, it's right now for me the funniest film of the year, and it's about growing up and realizing life is messy. It's a great. It goes places that I think is great, and it has like all of these like homages and like inspirations from like old big studio like Hollywood movies. Got like Wizard of Oz influence. You got the work of Bob Fosse and like old musicals. All of it is just so wonderfully crafted, and the production design is incredible.
Production design is absolutely crazy. I mean, probably the best of the year so far. Asteroid City might have something to say about that. But let's talk about the stars. Margot Robbie is Barbie.
She's great.
And Ryan Gosling is Ken.
Yes.
Like, I mean, like, they just become Barbie and Ken in a way that I haven't seen two actors do to already established characters in a long time.
Wow.
I go like, I already kind of said it, but like, I just look at Margot Robbie's Barbie and I go like, yeah, that's Barbie.
Yeah.
You know, it's just so believable. They really become their characters. They really get into the role. I thought their performances were amazing. All of the extra Barbies and Kens were really great, as well as Alan and Midge, two of the discontinued Barbie universe dolls. I thought everybody in this film, there was not a weak performance anywhere spotted in this film at all.
No, they're all plugged into exactly what this movie's trying to be. It's light, it's silly, but it also goes into places that you wouldn't quite expect. And it never really takes itself too seriously, but you know, it's still deep and it's still meaningful.
Yes, and one thing that I thought was really cool that you wouldn't expect from Barbie, you know, like a movie based off of an already existing brand, is that it doesn't feel like a toy commercial. You know, it feels like, okay, this is its own film, this is its own thing. I'm not watching this one big toy commercial. Like this isn't to sell Barbie dolls. I mean, this is to tell a deep, meaningful, thoughtful, but also funny story at the same time. And I think it just does an absolutely amazing job at that.
Yeah. Just like the Lego movie, this really excels as like, well, on its surface, a commercial for toys, but when you really get into it, it distills everything that's like joyous about playing with these toys and playing and like growing up with some of these products. And even though that sounds a little terrible when it comes out of my mouth like that, I love how they distill like what it means to love these characters and your childhood with them.
Yeah, and can I just say that it was so nice to go into the theater, have people there, have people laughing, like they're having a good time.
Tons of people dressed up.
Yes, tons of people dressed up. This is not something I have experienced in the movie theater in a long time.
Yeah.
I just had an absolute ball going to see this movie, and I honestly, I can't wait to see what else Greta Gerwig has in store, because she's definitely sold me on her directing style with this film.
She's fantastic, this movie's fantastic, and you should watch it as soon as possible. If you haven't already, go check it out right now.
Yes, absolutely. With that being said, we're going to take a quick break, and after this, Kane Jones has his picks for his favorite movies based off of toys and board games.
Now, more of the film reel with Kane Jones.
Well, guys, looks like this could potentially be my last segment, but no worries, I have a plan. So stay tuned for that. Now, for this segment, I have for you guys my top 5 favorite films that are based off of toys in honor of the Barbie movie that just came out. So I'm going to go in reverse order here and give you guys my picks for my top favorite films that are based off of toys and board games. So sitting in the number 5 spot, I have Trolls. They've done 2 of these films, and I gotta say, the first one was phenomenal. I thought that the cast that lent their voices to each of the main trolls in the film was phenomenal. And I thought the writing was also good. And, you know, just the concept. I mean, everyone loved Trolls. I think when they first came out initially, if you grew up with the Trolls in that era, you know, and I think, like I said, the cast, that was the main thing, because the cast were voicing these trolls because it's an animated film, right? And I think the cast that was chosen to voice each of the main trolls, right, just did an incredible and amazing job. And so for that, I had Trolls sitting in the 5th spot. So moving on to the 4th spot, this film was based and adapted from a popular board game, a popular game called Dungeons and Dragons. They made a film called Dungeons and Dragons Honor Among Thieves. And again, this one was really good too, a little bit better maybe than Trolls in my opinion. That's why I put it in the 4th slot, excuse me. And I put it in the 4th slot because the cast that they chose was phenomenal. Chris Pine, you know, Hugh Grant. I thought it was incredibly casted well, and I thought that the writing was good. And I thought that, you know, if you were going to take a board game that was popular and adapt it into a film, I thought that they did an amazing job with it, you know, all things considered. The writing was good, the casting was good, and even the effects were decent, right? So with that, I had Dungeons and Dragons Honor Among Thieves sitting in the number 4 spot. Moving right along into the 3rd slot. The 3rd slot was interesting for me. I chose another film that's based off a game, a board game called Battleship. This movie came out a number of years ago in the 2010s, and this movie was okay. The acting was good. It was okay. And, but I think the writing is what really sold me on this. The writing was really good, I thought. The effects, honestly, could have been better, but the writing for this really got me. Battleship, the main lead, he was phenomenal, and the cast was pretty solid overall, I'll say. But what really got me was the writing. I thought the writing was phenomenal in it. And Battleship, and I think just part of the nostalgic flavor of, you know, the Battleship game. I personally loved Battleship, and I was, you know, just amazed that they made it into a film, and it's one of my personal favorites, and so that is why I put Battleship at number 3. Now, moving to the top 2 spots, in the number 2 slot, a fan favorite, the Lego Movie. This movie was based off the iconic toy that is Legos. You know, who didn't like Legos? Little blocks that you could build and build and build and keep building stuff with. I mean, you know, who didn't like that? I mean, Legos, everyone loved them. Generations, I mean, I love them. Every generation loves Legos, and I thought, and this is another anime movie, and I thought, you know, just like Trolls in the 5th slot, right, that where, you know, you had a voice cast of numerous amount of incredible actors and actresses that were just lending their voices to these characters, and they just did a phenomenal job. And again, what sold me on this one too was the writing. I keep talking about the writing. You know, that's one of my factors that I look at in these films, is the writing and dialogue good, you know, because that's kind of, to me, what keeps an audience member, like engaged, right, into the film. And I thought the writing movie on the Lego Movie was incredible. They also did the Lego Batman movie, also phenomenal. And just, you know, I mean, the Legos, taking an iconic and, dare I say, legendary toy like that and adapting it into a film like they did, and they pulled it off, in my opinion. So it was just well done, and yeah. And so the Lego Movie, I had that in the number 2 spot. Now, rounding out the top 5 in the number 1 spot, in my opinion, one of the best adaptations of a toy into a film that anyone has ever done, and that is the Transformers franchise. And man, oh man, they hit a home run with this. Michael Bay directed, he's directed all of them. I believe there are about 4 or 5 live action films. I specifically like the first 3. Outside of that, I feel like they were getting a little crazy, not as good, but the first 3 really solid. Again, the writing amazing, the acting phenomenal, and and everything about them. The first 3, and Transformers, one of the greatest franchises, I think. I mean, it's got to rank, right? And there was an animated series in the 70s, 80s. And, it was just awesome all around on all cylinders. And taking that and adapting that into a really good live action series that Michael Bay did and pulled off. And that's why I had Transformers, the whole Transformers as franchise as a whole, in the number 1 spot, rounding out my 5 favorite picks for films that were based off toys and board games.
And welcome back to the Film Reel. We're going to talk about diversity in big blockbusters.
Yes.
Yeah. With the new Barbie movie coming out, I wanted to talk about this because I've been thinking about it, rewatching a few of Greta Gerwig's films. It really felt like a refreshing breath of fresh air.
Yeah.
I said that. But I don't know, having a woman direct these movies, which we've seen more and more of these past few decades, it feels great to have some other voice take on coming of age stories. I feel like I never really get their type of input or stuff they've gone through, because it really feels like it's the Hollywood studios have been dominated by the voices of men and white men in particular.
Yeah. I think Barbie is really cool because it has all these messages of diversity and stuff like that, and being who you want to be, but it doesn't shove it down your throat.
No.
It's not preachy about it, In fact, it does it in a really funny, creative way, to where I think pretty much anybody should be able to get behind it, and I think that's definitely the way to go, because I think that's whenever you start to turn people off. Mm-hmm. Is whenever you're getting really preachy and stuff about it, but whenever you're just okay, these people are just a part of this world, they exist, this is how the way things are.
And I think
that's the best way to do that.
Yeah, this is what they have to go through. This is trials and tribulations that sometimes we don't hear about because it's not really talked about.
Yes.
And I loved it. I think that's a great message to have in your film. And I mean, of course, weirdos online are gonna get mad about it, but that's a small group, who cares?
Right.
And this has been a thing we've been seeing recently, way back a few years ago, Black Panther, that really making something new out of blockbusters and doing something that was different, we haven't seen before. Even other studio comedies like Bros, just bringing this other minority group together. And I think it's an important thing that we don't see often, but we are seeing more of as the years go on.
With that being said, that's going to wrap things up here on this first part of our Barbenheimer extravaganza. Don't go away, because we have part 2 with our review of Oppenheimer coming up next.
I'm fired up. Oh. Shit. Yeah. Bryce and Ian think they are cutting me out. They can't cut me out. I'll show them. I got something just for them. Yeah, that's right. And they will never, ever see it coming. Yeah.
We are so f***ed.
Do you know what this means?
He is gonna blow up every TV in the entire world.
Our ratings. What are we gonna do?
We have to figure out a way to stop this madman!
I might have a theory.
Now, this is going to take a lot of work. This is going to take a lot of effort, but I think we might be able to do something.
What if we just called him on the phone? Kane, did you set up a device to destroy every TV in the world?
Yeah, you think you can stop me? You can't stop me. It's already in motion.
Okay, what are your demands? This has to be stopped now!
Here's the thing. You gotta put me back at the show because this is serious, dude. I can't take it. You know this, man. I mean, the show's my life. I absolutely have to be back on. I literally don't know what to do right now.
Okay, fine. If that's all you want. My God, that is so depressing. Okay, how do we shut it down?
Shut the control board, and you'll be able to shut everything down, all right? And I'll see you later for the rest of my segment, okay?
The device was at the control board the whole time, right here in the studio. Turn off device here.
News Channel 15 presents The Film Reel, the talk show where we discuss everything going on in the world of movies and television with host Bryce West and Ian Lloyd. This is The Film Reel.
Welcome into part 2 of our Film Reel Barbenheimer extravaganza. I am Bryce West.
And I am Ian Lloyd.
And can I just say that we had an absolute blast filming those two segments for you all. Kane's back, he convinced us.
Yeah.
But I mean, seriously, what an absolutely unbelievable great time that we had doing those. We came in, Kane and I filmed his stuff earlier in the week, and then Ian and I came in today, as you're watching this, at 9 a.m. to film the rest of the scenes for both of those segments. And I think we really captured the essence of Barbie and Oppenheimer pretty well, while also kind of parodying what's going on with the writer strike and the Screen Actors Guild. That was kind of the point of all this, was to kind of do a parody of what's going on actually in the film industry right now with the Writers Guild strike and the Screen Actor Guild strike, and show just how unbelievably absurd the demands of the studios are and stuff like that, while kind of having a Barbie and Oppenheimer theme to them. It's Barbenheimer week. We decided we wanted to go all out, and I think we did a pretty good job at that.
Yeah, it was a great time. We'll do it again, maybe. If
we'll
you like
see.
it.
I don't know if we can put Kane through all that turmoil again.
I don't know. Yeah, he seemed really upset about it.
Not actually, just a bit, we promise. You'll see more of Kane today, but after this break, we are going to be reviewing Oppenheimer, the second half of Barbenheimer, coming up.
Yep.
Welcome back into the Film Reel. We've got our review for Oppenheimer. Earlier in the day, reviewed Barbie. If you missed that, you missed out on another really hilarious sketch that we made. The Inheimer of Barbenheimer is here, and honestly, almost just as great as Barbie, if I might say.
They're both on par. It really just matters your personal taste and what you like in different movies.
Yeah. So I watched Barbie before Oppenheimer, and honestly, I think that's kind of the way to go, because Barbie really does kind of make you think and question things a little bit, and then having that lead straight into Oppenheimer, which is just this absolutely mind-bending, point of views are being thrown around, and the timeline isn't super intact, but Oppenheimer is definitely a movie that really makes you think. If Barbie makes you think a little bit, Oppenheimer really, really makes you think.
It really goes down into the morality of man and just all these like concepts of like, oh, isn't this all depressing?
Yes.
Just like we could end the world. And and then Barbie's like fun and they're dancing and I love it.
I mean, for those unaware, I mean, I'm sure most people are, but Oppenheimer is about the creation of the atomic bomb.
Yes.
That took out Hiroshima and Nagasaki in the Second World War. And it kind of deals with, should any human group have the ability to wipe out an entire civilization?
Yeah, even if it's like for the advancements of science
Yes.
and people's job, what they think is their duty, and like what does that mean? And this movie goes into that in depth. It's 3 hours long, but it really never slows down.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like 3 hours. So if you're somebody who doesn't really like 3-hour movies, at least for me, it didn't. It felt like it went by.
Yeah, it's paced very well, and it really goes into it's hand in hand with like what the movie is trying to say about chain reactions.
Yes.
Because once the movie starts going, it really does feel like a chain of reactions. Like a scene going, scenes just happening.
It's kind of like dominoes falling down.
Yeah, it really does feel like, oh, these situations are just getting worse and worse, and like more like a bigger scale.
Yeah, and just like Barbie, Oppenheimer has an absolutely insane cast once again, and just like Barbie, none of them have a weak performance. Not a single one.
No.
It is truly astonishing. Everybody, I mean, especially Robert Downey Jr., who's on screen right now. Everybody knows him as Iron Man. Not anymore, because I mean, he really was sort of, because it kind of felt like every movie that Robert Downey Jr. was in just kind of felt like he was playing Robert Downey Jr.
Yeah.
But in this, he really gets to show off his acting chops, and I really like. I mean, obviously this is based on real life. I didn't know very much of the story of Oppenheimer or any of that, but what happens to Robert Downey Jr.'s character I found really, really intriguing, and the film itself does a really good job of kind of taking you through that journey.
Yeah. Now, you say that you really liked Robert Downey Jr.'s performance, but have you seen Dolittle?
You know what? I skipped Dolittle because it looked horrible.
Well, there you go.
Probably was.
Yeah, Oppenheimer is just, it is such a feast for the
Cillian
eyes.
Murphy as Oppenheimer.
Oh, well, yeah.
And first of all, he looks exactly like him.
Yes.
Yeah, which is honestly just crazy within itself. But then, I mean, his performance is so well done.
Yeah, he hasn't really had a leading role for decades now,
Yeah.
and he's so good at it. He's so compelling to watch, and he's so great.
Yes, Emily Blunt, Florence Pugh are also in this. They have great performances. Matt Damon, he has a great performance. I mean, just all around the board. I mean, and the story is just so intriguing. Even if it's taking it like oh, we're gonna be over here for a second, and then we're gonna be over here for a second, and we're gonna take place in this time and that time. Like it doesn't feel difficult to follow. Even though it sounds very complicated, it does a really good job of portraying its story and making its story make sense, even though the timeline can be confusing.
Yeah. It really trusts its audience to keep up with all these events, and for the most part, it handles it all really well. It's great.
Yeah, I gotta say, I was really, really impressed. Yeah. I went into this going okay, I'm clearly gonna like Barbie better, which I still did, but I was incredibly shocked and surprised at how much I still also loved Oppenheimer. Yeah. I mean, we don't usually do ratings on this show, but I personally would give both Barbie and Oppenheimer 9 out of 10. Both of them.
I'm almost right there with you. I think I would give both of them an 8 out of 10, but they're really close together. It's just, it all depends on what you like, and this movie delivers in spades for Christopher Nolan fans. It's one of his best recently, I would say.
Yes, I mean, it's really astonishing how both films which is like, oh, it's just goofy Barbie movie. But then it makes you think. It has a message behind it. And then Oppenheimer's like, oh, just goofy bomb movie. You know, not goofy.
I don't think it's
definitely not goofy. But people are just like, oh, this is just gonna be a bomb movie. But it's so much more than that.
Yeah, like 3 hours. Some of it's black and white. It's gonna be boring, and it's really engaging, and it like has a lot to say. And I really do feel like it just, I don't know, it moves, it has amazing visuals, the sound design is incredible, and I just absolutely adore the score. I think the music in this movie is phenomenal. One of the best of the year.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned the like some of the scenes are in black and white. I thought that was really cool how they switched back and forth between the two, and how it made, you know, it helped the viewer go, okay, we're back in this time period now, and it really helps tell the story through its use of color and black and white.
It like emulates one of Nolan's oldest tricks with Memento, where he uses the same thing to tell objective story beats and subjective story beats, and I think that is just great. It's really smart filmmaking.
Yes, I mean, Oppenheimer, it definitely isn't a goofy time. You're not going to have a good time, you know, watching it, because it is a very deep film, but it is a quality time. It is a very piece of quality cinema, and alongside Barbie, I think they both are two of the best films released this year, and it's not even really close.
I did the opposite approach from what you did. I watched this first and then Barbie, and it does feel a little jarring, but like I did have to take like a 10-minute breather after this movie and be like, okay, got all that out of my system, and then on to the party. But these movies just work together in surprising but like really cool ways.
Yes. Absolutely. Definitely go see Oppenheimer. Definitely go see Barbie. Both films are absolutely extraordinary. Go support the cinema. There's no better time to do it than now. So definitely go to the theater to see both of these movies. They're absolutely wonderful. With that being said, we're going to take a quick break, and after this, Kane Jones, he's back. We got him back, and he's going to be talking about some of his favorite biopics.
Now, more of the Film Reel with Kane Jones.
Hello everybody, I'm back, Kane Jones, and I have reclaimed my segment. So here we go. In this segment, we are talking biopics in honor of the new Oppenheimer biopic that just came out. And so for this segment, I have a top 5 biopic list that are my personal favorite biopics that have been made. And so we're going to start in reverse order. And in the 5th slot, I have The Social Network, a film that was made about the creator of Facebook, which is now Meta, Mark Zuckerberg. And I thought the cast was solid, the writing was really good, and just overall phenomenal film about the creator of Facebook, which is now Meta. And I had The Social Network sitting in the 5th slot there. And moving on to the 4th slot, I had The Wolf of Wall Street. Leonardo DiCaprio hit it out of the park with this one. I mean, as he always does. Love him as an actor. And I thought his portrayal of Jordan Belfort was phenomenal. And, from his performance to the rest of the cast to the writing, I thought it was just a phenomenal biopic. And that is why I had The Wolf of Wall Street sitting in the 4th slot there. Now, for the 3rd slot, I had to put a few musical biopics in this list. And in the 3rd slot, I had Bohemian Rhapsody. Bohemian Rhapsody sitting in the 3rd slot. Phenomenal biopic starring Rami Malek as Freddie Mercury, the iconic and, dare I say, legendary frontman of the classic rock band Queen. And man, oh man, this film was phenomenal. And he won the Oscar for it, and rightfully so. I mean, this film was iconic. It was so good. The casting, the acting, the writing also as well. It's just a phenomenal and fantastic portrayal of the band Queen and Freddie Mercury himself, and one of my favorite biopics ever about a musical artist and band that has ever been made, really. And that's my opinion. So I had Bohemian Rhapsody sitting in the 3rd slot. Now, moving on to the top 2 spots on the list, I actually had another musical biopic it's sitting in the second slot, and that is Ray. Ray, the movie about Ray Charles. Phenomenal portrayal of the legendary pianist, starring Jamie Foxx. Jamie Foxx, I thought he won the Oscar as well for Ray, and I thought he did a phenomenal job. And also along with his cast that he had with him acting in it was so good, and I thought the writing was awesome. And, you know, all the scenes of him playing the piano, I mean, he was really playing, you know, and it was just incredible from top to bottom. Again, another fantastic musical biopic about an iconic and influential artist. And that's why I had Ray sitting in the second spot. Now, for the number 1 spot, rounding out the list, in the top spot, I had the movie Lincoln. And Lincoln was a phenomenal film. It came out in 2012, I believe. It was a phenomenal film, biopic about one of our nation's greatest presidents, Abraham Lincoln. And the cast in this was phenomenal. This was an exceptionally large cast. So many and just a lot of great and phenomenal actors and actresses of our time starred in this. From main to supporting to sideline, everyone did a great job. And of course, Daniel Day-Lewis's portrayal of Abraham Lincoln was nothing short of amazing. Along with the writing was really good in this as well. And it was just a phenomenal biopic about one of our country's presidents. And that was Lincoln. I had Lincoln in the top spot. Phenomenal film. One of my personal favorite films of all time, even as well. And so Lincoln, for me, was sitting in the first spot. And that rounds out my 5 top favorite picks for biopics that have been made. Back to you guys.
Thank you to Kane for that. And yeah, I think Oppenheimer definitely is a very worthy addition to some of the greatest biopics of all time. Yeah. Just off of this one viewing alone. I mean, it's absolutely incredible.
It takes the life of this person that's a noble person, somebody that people are afraid of but still curious about, and it tells his life in a very cool, unique way that I don't think a lot of filmmakers would go to. Yeah, I think it's very unique in how the presentation was set up for it.
With that being said, after this break, we're going to round things out by talking about the Barbenheimer effect and how future films can try to replicate this success in the future. Welcome back into the film reel. To close things out today, we're going to be kind of talking about how future releases can try to look at the success of Barbenheimer and how really they can use that to their advantage. Because if there's one thing that's been common this summer, it's just blockbuster after blockbuster after blockbuster, yes, failing to make any sort of revenue in the box office, failing to get people to buy tickets. So in your opinion, what was it about Barbenheimer? What made people want to go see these two films?
Well, I think the duality of it is the main key to what people really attach to. You're going to a restaurant and you want the girls' toy or the boys' toy. Yeah. It's very much like these two films are opposites, even though they do kind of work together in a weird way. But another fact is that these are just weird movies.
Yes.
To be blockbusters.
Yeah.
They're they go as far as they can, and we just don't really see blockbusters like that much anymore. And I think the key to that is the creators. I think the directors and the crews behind these really have their own specific voice that carries through.
Yes.
And I think that these two films show that off way more than every other film.
Yes.
This summer.
The reason why these two work as blockbusters is because it doesn't feel like they were made to be blockbusters. They were just there trying to tell a story and trying to tell a good story, which they succeeded at. There wasn't a lot of studio meddling from what I was able to see. And I think, I think the audience goer can see that. I think the audience goer can see when there's true heart and soul poured into a film, like it was with Barbie, like it was with Oppenheimer. And I think that within itself is something that's been missing. Like, these films don't feel like cash grabs.
No.
I mean, Barbie could have been, but it wasn't. I mean, it truly did not feel like a cash grab. I mean, it felt like it was there to tell its own true original story, and I think it did a great job.
Yeah, and these both are based off of pre-existing things, like people and a brand. And I think what is really special about this whole thing is that they're not indebted to the IP.
Yeah.
Like Indiana Jones, it's trying to chase after like what people liked about that series. They're trying something new, and the people making it know what they like, and they're going for it. And it's so great to see good movies this summer.
I mean, two of the best. I think the only one that tops these two so far for me is Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, which I think is close to a perfect movie. I mean, Barbie and Oppenheimer are must-watches. I mean, if you're in any way interested in movies at all, or if you just want to go to the theater for fun, definitely go see Barbie, go see Oppenheimer. They're great. With that being said, we had a great time producing these 2 episodes. We had a lot of fun with it. I hope you enjoyed some of the fun stuff that we got to do with these 2. And definitely stay tuned next week for more episodes of The Film Reel.